Legends of Runeterra is the most free-to-play card game out there. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but what I'm trying to say is that building up top-tier decks in this game doesn't make you buy booster pack after booster pack just so you can have a relevant deck to play on the ladder. Trust me, I've been there. I've played several card games before this and understand the feeling of buying a booster pack only to get a 50-cent rare, and maybe, if I'm lucky, I get a promo code to play their online game. Several card games out there make it impossible to reliably get a deck you want through booster packs, and even if they allow you to buy the deck you want directly through buying singles, it's probably going to leave a dent in your bank account. Legends of Runeterra, on the other hand, is very generous with its card system, and you can probably build a nice solid top tier deck after playing the game for a week or two. They don't have any booster packs in their game, and enforce a wild card shard system instead, allowing you to pick and choose the cards you want to craft. However, with all that said, if you're brand new to the game, it still takes a little bit of time to build a nice hearty collection. And while you're trying to build up that collection, you're going to need some budget-friendly decks to play with, since the starter decks they give you are kind of poo-poo. Hey guys, what's up? It's Brother here, and on my channel, I just like talking about all things Legends of Runeterra. And in today's video, I'm going to go over my top 3 favorite budget decks to play right now. Let's get into it. So the first deck I have on my list is Fearsome Burn. Okay, so I keep seeing people change the name of this deck. Like, it's been called Spider Aggro, Fearsome Spiders, but I think right now the universally accepted name for this deck is Fearsome Burn. I personally got this deck from Swim, a hilarious Legends of Runeterra content creator, so if you're new to the game and haven't had a chance to watch his videos, make sure to check him out. I'll be linking his channel below alongside another content creator I'll be talking about later. So anyways, Fearsome Burn is an aggro deck that wants to win the game as fast as possible. The goal of the deck is to play an early curve of aggressive creatures, abusing your opponent with the keyword fearsome. Growing up, someone probably taught you, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Well, whoever taught you that is probably wrong, because holy shit, the word fearsome will definitely hurt your opponent. Fearsome units prevent your opponent from blocking unless they have a 3-power creature, which in the early game can literally be impossible for some decks. This makes it easy for cards like Owl Dude, Elise, Ugly Spider to easily slam in for juicy damage. Plus, since your deck has a bunch of spider cards, this is probably the best deck to fully utilize Elise's potential. But of course, what if you're playing against a deck that has a few creatures that can block your fearsome units? You might be asking to yourself, now what? To which I say, who cares? You're playing aggressive, so you don't really care if some of your creatures die during the attack. All that really matters is you squeezing in as much damage as possible, because later on in the game, you'll be using your burn spells like Decimate and Noxian Fervor to seal the deal anyways. Hence, Fearsome Burn. Okay, anyways, overall, Fearsome Burn is an amazing archetype for beginners. This deck is primarily made up of a bunch of common cards, and since you already have Elise when starting off the game, crafting this deck becomes pretty easy. Additionally, this deck is actually seriously competitive. I've personally used this deck to climb from Plat 4 to Plat 2, so it definitely has the power to compete with a bunch of meta decks. If you like having a wide board of units and want fast, decisive games, Fearsome Burn is definitely a deck you should check out. Next up on our list is Hyper Endure, which is called Hyper Endure because it's an extremely optimized version of Indoor Spiders. I've already made an in-depth deck tech covering all the nitty-gritties of Indoor Spiders, so if you want to learn more about that archetype, I'll be linking a video somewhere up here and in the description below. Anywho, Hyper Endure is the most competitive budget deck on this list. The main goal of this deck is to attack our opponent with a big, overwhelming Endure and use Atrocity as a backup finisher. Endure is this big, one-eyed, goated creature-looking thing that gets bigger and bigger each time one of your creatures die. How big? Like 2020 big sometimes. And when we combo those stats with a spell like Atrocity, which can deal Endure's power directly to our opponent's Nexus, we have a sick late-game win condition. But wait, just because we have an awesome late-game win condition doesn't mean we don't have an awesome early game. In the early game, this deck has a bunch of creatures that benefit from each other dying. A good example is the classic Ravenous Butcher, Cursed Keeper combo. Cursed Keeper wants to be killed so we can summon a 4/3, while Ravenous Butcher wants someone to kill it so we can enter the battlefield as a 0 mana 3/2. Comboing these two cards will give you a 4/3 and a 3/2 unit on turn 2, while also helping Endure get bigger. Basically, the point I'm trying to get across is that this deck can play very aggressively during the early game. Most of the time, you want to be playing aggressively anyways, since you want to build up a big Endure and several units in our deck benefit from dying. Pretty much, if you like casting fat units and are looking for a deck that has an awesome early game, while also threatening an inevitable late game win condition,
I am inevitable.
Hyper Endure is a great deck to do just that. I think the most expensive part of this deck is Callista, but you can easily replace Callista with Elise until you can craft her. I got this next deck from Saucy Mailman, and if you guys haven't heard of Saucy Mailman yet, definitely go check him out. This guy has super chill streams and covers some of the sickest decks Runeterra has to offer, and we're actually going to be covering one of them right now. So the final budget deck of the day is Budget Championless Dragons. Everyone who plays card games will eventually want to build some sort of monstrous dragon deck, and if that hasn't happened to you yet, don't worry, it will. I promise, if you took the time to just sit there in your chair and stare at these beautiful, majestic creatures, you'll understand why everyone wants to play dragons. Anyways, the goal of this deck is to attack our opponent with beefy dragons and to invoke out any answers we need. Fused Firebrand and Screeching Dragon are our two best units. They both cost 5 mana and have Fury, which I believe is an extremely overlooked keyword, because unless they can confirm the kill, they're just gonna make your dragon bigger and bigger and bigger. To top it off, the deck does an incredible job of supporting the Dragon Fury theme with cards like Single Combat, Guiding Touch, and Dragon's Clutch. Single Combat forces your opponent to die to your dragons, Guiding Touch can help us heal up our dragons while helping us find more cards, and Dragon's Clutch makes it so that you can consistently draw your dragons every game, or buff them to help you close out the game. Anywho, this deck only costs 6,800 shards, which is extremely low, and consists purely of just commons and rares, making it perfect for a newer player. If you want a full deck check, some upgrades, and gameplay, just stop listening to me and go check out Saucy Mailman's channel as he explains everything way better than I do. I don't think this deck is going to be incredibly competitive, but I do think that this deck does a great job at helping newer players practice the fundamental Runeterra skills, like knowing when to cast your spells and knowing how to position your units correctly. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to be playing a mid-rangey deck that features a bunch of cards from the newest set, I think this deck's going to be perfect for you. Plus, over time, you can eventually slam in Aurelion Soul in there, so yeah. We're about reaching the end of the video, so I'll just quickly summarize each deck for you. We talked about 3 decks in this video, the first one being Fearsome Spiders, which is an awesome aggro deck that can help you win games extremely fast. It's also surprisingly competitive, so a really solid deck to check out. The second deck we talked about was Hyper Endure, which has the most flexibility to adjust to any matchup, and is probably the most competitive budget deck you can craft right now. And number 3, the final deck we talked about in today's video is Budget Championless Dragons, which is by far one of the most fun and flavorful decks you can start the game off with. It features a bunch of new shiny Targon cards and has a lot of great upgrade options. Anyways team, that about wraps it up for my opinion on some of the best budget decks to play right now. If you want to see in-depth gameplay for the decks that I just mentioned, make sure to check out the content creators I mentioned in this video, Swim and Saucy Mailman. I hope this guide has been helpful, and if there are any decks you wish you saw on this list, make sure to let me know in the comments below. On this channel, I plan on covering all things Legends of Runeterra, like deck techs, game updates, and general news, so if that intrigues you in any way, it'd be awesome if you clicked on that like button and consider subscribing, as it encourages me to help make more videos like this. I hope you're all having a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you guys all soon. Peace.